The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
Yes, it is magic time. Hello. Welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I'm one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
We're eating some donuts here in the Warren and Bradley studios. Warren came bearing donuts, and we decided we'd have a little donut.
Yeah, we're both enjoying a maple bar right now.
Oh, there's a good maple bar.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
The first segment will just be us eating donuts. We'll be able to suck some entertainment value out of that, I think. Your smacking is really coming through on the microphone right now.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because I'm like trying to suck the donut off my teeth, kind of like. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I used to be appalled by you when you were a little kid, your eating habits.
Oh, yeah?
I remember I'd have you over to my house or something, this is when we were like 6 or 7, and we'd get a sandwich, and you would eat the sandwich all the way through.
Really?
Like you would just start biting in the middle of it, and then just like...
So you'd have two sides left?
You'd have two sides, and it would just smear over your face as you were eating. But by the time you were done eating, you just had food all over your face.
Really?
And I was always appalled, because I've always been kind of fastidious and uptight, maybe is the
I don't
word.
remember doing that, but it's very possible I did that because at some point when I started eating sandwiches, I really got into just like eating the crust first. And then I would do this thing where I would like nibble around the outside of the sandwich and then have a crustless sandwich and then just eat that.
Well, I guess your sandwich eating routine has changed throughout the years.
Yeah, because if I were to do that now, it would really drive me crazy because I can't stand having anything like sticky on my face.
No, I know. I hate that.
I love ribs, but it makes me like nervous to have all that like rib sauce on my face and stuff, and on my hands. It just drives me nuts.
Well, if I take a bite of something, people have commented before that I eat like a shark, where I extend my teeth out of my lips almost as though I have some sort of weird mandible, because I don't want anything to touch my lips when I'm eating. So I go ha ha and bite like that. Yeah.
That's really fastidious.
Yeah.
I don't mind getting it right on my lip because I can lick it off, but anything on the like skin part around the lips, I'm a little worried about.
This is really entertaining.
Okay, I've also had a couple drinks.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that's why I ended up with getting maple bars, I think.
No, I'm hopped up on caffeine. We're having the maple bars. Warren's mildly drunk, so this should be a good episode of the Warren and Bradley Show.
Just came back from a local nightclub watching the Seattle Seahawks win another game.
My mouth is so full. Really professional. So, this is a dance club that normally has weird college people dancing to obnoxious, like Katy Perry music.
Yeah,
but they're playing a Seahawks game?
Yeah.
What, do they have a big projector screen or something they put up?
Just regular screens.
So how many people go to the dance club to watch a Seahawks? It's not a sports bar.
It was more the people that like know each other were going there. It wasn't like a community event of sorts.
So it's not like, oh, let's go to Glow to watch the game. It's not.
There isn't like billboards about it, I don't think. But it's very inspiring. The Seahawks have scored more than 50 points 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, for those of you not native to the Pacific Northwest region or Seahawks fans, they're doing quite well.
I think we're very close to the division lead right now.
And we're supposed to play San Francisco next week. Yeah. So we've already clinched a wild card spot in the playoffs, right?
I don't know if we've clinched, but we're very close.
Okay. Clinched. Yeah.
Clinched a wild card spot. And more good news on the football front.
Yes.
My fantasy football team is in the semifinals right now, the Victorian Dandies.
Oh, great.
And as of the recording this podcast, I'm looking in really good shape.
Really? Because you weren't too sure last week.
No. Last week's game, very close. I ended up winning that playoff game. Moved on to this week. This week I've gotten off to a very hot start. So it looks very likely I will end up in the final against our friend Kyle.
Okay.
For all the marbles.
So you will be in the final. You are pretty sure.
I'm pretty right now, unless barring some sort of catastrophe, which I will whine about to no end next week if this happens.
Well, we'll look forward to that.
But right now, it's looking very good.
So, Warren and Bradley Show listeners, if you don't want to hear Warren whining about his fairy tale football league, send your good vibes, your love and support to the Victorian Dandies going into the finals.
Pray for the Dandies. It's very important.
Went out this weekend on Friday night, and I had one of those those things where, did we mention this on the podcast? I think there was the girl I had walked home who we
Which
made out
one?
with.
Oh, the makeout one. Yeah.
And then I got her number, and then I said I doubted she would like call me back if I called her, and she didn't.
Yeah.
I sent her a text message.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, whatever. C'est la vie. And then I hadn't run into her since then, except on Friday night I was at a show at a local bar, and I see her there.
Uh-oh.
And she, of course, did the look away thing when she saw me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that big a deal. It's fine. But whatever. I didn't try to go up to her or talk to her or anything. But then at one point, I was standing in line, and I turned around after I had gotten a beer, and she was right in front of me. And she again went, and she was with this long-haired, douchebaggy-looking beardo freak. And he noticed something going on when she looked at me.
Oh, he noticed that tension there?
He noticed something. I mean, and I wasn't like giving her longing looks or anything or doing anything.
But this guy has a really good EQ, maybe.
He's finely attuned. Or
Yeah,
else
yeah.
he's just like a selfish weirdo. Or not selfish,
or he's like
or
obsessed
jealous
about
weirdo.
the girl he's with. He's like, any
Right.
vibe from anyone else. He
Right.
knows what's going on. Yeah, yeah.
So he gave me this look like, what's going on? And I was just, whatever, little long-haired douchebag. I just walked away. But then as I was coming out of the bathroom, now at this point in the night, I haven't been drinking much at all lately, so my liver is not as calloused as it used to be in the old days. So the alcohol maybe gets to me a little more than it would have in my heyday of like drinking every single night.
Yeah.
So I was a little buzzed, a little up. Having a good time, actually. But as I came out of the bathroom, the long-haired beardo douchebag was walking towards the bathroom, and he went out of his way to put his shoulder in, and like, bam!
Really?
Bopped me as he went by. And maybe completely sober, I wouldn't have done anything. I just would have been like, whatever, fucker. But this time, for some reason, now maybe you can analyze the response I had.
Yeah.
But,
2 weeks in a row.
Another train break.
Sorry, everybody. Oh, this one's going south.
Oh, wow.
That's unusual.
We're laughing.
I'm eating the donut and laughing.
This is a train break.
This is a very weird vibe to a show right now. Considering it's dark, I had some alcohol on me, and now I was eating a donut. It just, the whole thing feels really weird. Yeah.
We have to have about a good minute of laughing.
Can't do that. No, I just listened to the last one, and it was just like us
That was a good train break. We had time to finish our donuts now, so now we can focus.
Yeah, we
on
finished our
podcasting
donuts.
properly. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Okay, so beardo, long-haired douchebag.
Oh, bumped
dude.
into you.
Yeah, bumped into me on purpose.
Yeah.
Very much with malicious intent. He shouldered into me as he was going to the bathroom. And so as I was saying, normally if I were sober, I would just be like, fuck it, and not do anything about it. But this time, being a little drunk and being in kind of a weird loopy mood, this is the reaction I had to him bumping into me. I stopped, stared at him, and he squared up to me and like stared down, was trying to start staring me down. I looked up and saw that there were pipes for the sprinkler system up above me.
Yeah.
I reached up
What?
and did a one-arm pull-up and pulled myself up, all the while glaring at him malevolently. And then I let go and landed on the ground and stared at him again, and he went, and walked away into the bathroom.
What do you think his emotion was at that point?
I don't know.
Was he confused, or was he actually terrified because he thought you had some sort of martial arts skill?
I don't know if he was just like, okay, this guy is obviously insane, or is channeling some sort of red-tailed macaque or something, and
Yeah.
I don't want to have anything to do with him, or he was just completely intimidated by my obvious bisexual strength that I was exhibiting.
Bisexual.
Yeah, it's a real term.
That's an odd. Yeah, that's an odd.
It was a
sequence.
really odd
And You
reaction.
didn't have any more interactions the rest of the night?
No.
He was done with you?
He completely avoided me.
Yeah.
He wanted nothing to do with my one-armed pull-up.
I think it's more of a sign of like kind of slight craziness, maybe. That put him off. He's
Well,
kinda like,
and if people do act in a crazy way, you don't really want to be around them because you never know what they're going to do. They're
Yeah.
unpredictable. They might just freak out. They might do one-arm pull-ups right in front of you.
he probably would have more expected you to do the like thing where you're like, "What's up, bro?" and kind of bumped
Right.
into each other, and the thing where you don't actually like try to hurt each other, but you're just kind of like, "I'm tough too." You know what I mean? Which is probably something he could normally react to.
Right.
But just pulling yourself up. What is he supposed to think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like to think that he was intimidated by my obvious upper body strength, but it was kind of like, it was sort of like a primate threat display.
Yeah.
Where you'll see, I don't know, if a chimpanzee or gorilla, they get pissed off at another guy and they take sticks and break them. And break sticks and like knock them against the ground, or they take a big branch and smash it against a tree or something, and the other ape is like, don't want anything to do
Something
with
like
that.
that?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Oh, that could be.
I don't know.
Maybe this is a solution to all like fights in the future.
I think in the future, I don't know, maybe even the UN should institute this. They should have a lot of low-hanging chin-up bars around in the UN conference room, and if anyone gets uppity, maybe the UN ambassador for the United States walks right up there,
Pulls himself up,
gives a good glare to the rest of the audience.
Makes me think of like kung fu films. When you're about to face some enemy,
Yeah.
he pulls out his like weapon and starts like whipping it around or something for a
Right.
while before you actually fight.
Right.
As a display of like,
It's
I
a
know
display
how to,
of skill.
I can work this thing. Okay.
It's completely ineffective in actual combat, but look at how I can flip
This
and then
decorative
chuck
thing.
that
Just
back and
like
forth across my back.
there aren't a lot of like ways that ability to pull yourself upward is going to help you in a fight.
Right.
Unless you're like knocked down and you can pull yourself up.
Right. If there was a bar hanging.
Yeah, if there's a
8
bar
inches
conveniently
above it.
hanging right there, it doesn't actually serve that many purposes.
Well, it's like the thing when you get knocked down on the ground in the middle of a fight and you do the like backflip thing where you put your arms out behind your head and then you go and contort yourself so you flip back up onto your feet.
Yes.
It's
Which is a really
not-
good feat. It makes people are like, wow.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the most effective way.
You must be in good shape.
necessarily.
Yeah. But really, if some guy just lumbers up clumsily, that guy can probably beat you up too.
Maybe.
Right? You know what I mean?
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I was pleased by the whole thing. And it was one of those, I love those moments where I feel like I'm not in control of my body. Like I'm watching me do something and I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm like, oh, this guy seems to know what he's doing. I'll just let this play out and
All
see
right.
how it
That's
goes.
a sign of mental illness. That's
Maybe.
not good.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
You disassociate?
Well, kind of, yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Are you just detached? You feel like you're detached from what's going on? Or do you feel like you're actually viewing yourself from outside?
It's almost like I'm viewing myself from outside. I know it'll eventually lead to there'll be a prostitute in a pit, and I'm forcing her to rub lotion on her body so I can wear her skin as
and
a
then
Letterman
they're
jacket.
questioning you. You're like, I don't know why he did that.
I was
I saw him
watching
doing
him.
it, and I wanted to stop him, but I couldn't. You're like, it was you.
Yeah, well, whatever.
It was you all along. It's only a matter of time.
Speaking of going crazy and strange processes happening within my own body, lately, okay. Have you ever had this where, first of all, I've had this weird eye twitch thing going on?
This is the eyelid?
It's the bottom lid.
Yeah, I've had that.
It's just like twitching all over the place. It's driving me completely insane. And people have noticed it too. I was out on Friday and people were like, what's wrong with your eye?
Yeah.
But then what's been going on, I was sitting on the couch watching some TV yesterday.
Yeah.
And I looked to my right, and I looked at the can of Dr. Pepper that I had sitting on the windowsill that I was sipping off of while watching television, and it went and bulged and kind of contorted in this weird way. And I went, oh, that was weird. And I blinked, and then my eyes started twitching. And then I reached for it again, and it went and bulged and like...
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's really weird.
You realize the last two things you've talked about sound like you're going insane.
What does that mean? Is that like a physiological... maybe we need a neurologist
That's a
or something to write
hallucination.
in. Well, I wasn't on any drugs or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, you're still hallucinating.
Well, is it a hallucination, or is it maybe there's some physical process going on within my eyes that are causing something strange happening?
It's more likely that there's a physical process going on within your brain, which is called a hallucination that
Maybe
you're
a
having.
Tumor of some sort?
I'm much more worried about this than I'm worried about the eye twitch. I had the eye twitch a few months ago, and it was driving me nuts.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't sleep. Mm-hmm. I ended up just like pinning a pillow down over my eye. Because otherwise, if I would just lay there and just feel the slight twitching all the time in my eyelid.
It is really irritating when you have no control over this thing that is happening physically. And it'd be one thing if you weren't aware of it and people were like, oh, your eye's twitching. But you know as soon as it starts and you're like, ugh, trying to make it stop and it just won't
You can't do anything about it.
No.
And it drives you crazy. But that eventually goes away. Has yours gone away?
Today, it'll start and stop. It's not going on right now.
Eventually, that'll tail off.
Yeah.
The fact that you're actually seeing a can of Dr. Pepper like bulging and
It's
stuff.
funny. It wasn't just the can of Dr. Pepper either. It was other things were happening. Just things that I would look at. It was mostly peripheral vision. Things would go and start bulging and like it was like everything was filled with helium or something, and it was like balloons that were overinflating and then deflating over and over again.
Really?
Yeah. And then my leg was numb, too, for a while. I don't know what that's about.
All right.
I don't know. This is...
We have to do the emergency room?
I don't know. I feel fine right now.
Your leg was numb?
Yeah.
Were you, like, sitting on it weird?
No. My knee, I couldn't feel my knee.
Just your knee? What about the lower leg?
It was just the knee. But I could still walk and everything. But I could, if you touched it, you could probably like stick a fork in my knee and I wouldn't have felt it.
These are all very weird things, these symptoms. It's not good.
Yeah.
I get the thing I have lately, because of the kitten at our house, has been completely out of control and just is on a rampage whenever he's around. And it makes me really nervous. Like if I'm trying to like do something on the computer or something, or I'm watching something.
Does it attack you or anything? Or?
It attacks everything around you. It like if I'm laying in bed, it'll run right up to my face and like look at me and then like run away. When you're like laying there trying to sleep and stuff. So now if I'm like around the house sometimes, I'll see like something black out of the corner of my eye in my peripheral vision, and I'll think it's moving, and I'm like, it's the cat. But it's really just like a sweatshirt or a coat.
The fact that you're afraid of a kitten.
Yeah, it's making me a little jumpy. You know what I mean?
The kitten at that age, though, too, they have needle-sharp teeth. They're little syringes,
yes.
and their claws are like little syringes, and they don't have the proper maturity to be able to control how much they inject them into you. And so at that age, you have to let them gnaw on you a little bit, and then you're like, hey, when it gets too rough, and you grab them by the scruff of the neck and go, no, kitten, that was too dangerous.
Last night, I was reading a book, and the cat came up and just started chewing on the corner of the book. You know what I mean? Chewing really hard, too. I'm like, you can't do that. Stop that. That's not something we do.
What are your methods of discipline for the cat? I mean, you don't want to beat the cat.
I do a lot of this. But I'll do the thing, like, the cat also, like, was trying to eat my food earlier today, of course, which the cat always does, so I always give the, get out of here. And I kind of give the wave away, you know?
Yeah.
He goes away for 2 seconds and comes back and tries to eat my food again.
I like the scruffing, because you hang him up by the scruff of the neck, and they have that look on their face.
Like, oh, mama's doing something to me?
Yeah, they're kind of embarrassed and bemused at the same time.
Well, people use squirt bottles, I know.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about getting a squirt bottle.
Yeah. But then you'll end up just spraying the cat down.
The cat will just be constantly drenched. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
People forget how horrifically difficult it is to have a kitten or a puppy. They're cute. You're like, oh, a little kitten.
Well, I think
puppy.
when you're a kid, you just like are rampaging around anyway. So you're like, oh, something else is rampaging with you.
Right.
But when you're an adult, and all you want to do is have some peace and quiet and sit somewhere, and there's something like rampaging around and like darting across your chest if you like lay down, you tend to get a little nervous, or like just dangling from the like blinds in your room. You know, you're like, whoa, come on, let's just chill out. You know?
At least it being a cat, eventually you can cut its balls off, and then all it'll do is sleep and eat pretty much all day long.
My understanding is that's already been done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think eventually it'll get older, right? And it'll chill out.
If it doesn't die first, yeah.
Yes, and it'll like be more of a normal cat.
It should be.
Well, it'll be more of an adult cat where it'll just like come over by you and sit in your lap and like purr, and you can pet it and stuff.
I have known adult cats that are still psychotic, though. We had a cat when I was a little kid named Cliff, so named because he would jump off of any surface he was on, no matter how high it was. And even into adulthood, his favorite thing to do was to hide in paper grocery bags and wait for somebody to walk by. He would be there for hours, and you could just imagine him like like just laughing to himself as he was waiting for this ultimate joyous experience. And you would walk by, and he would go meow and launch out of the grocery bag and just rip the shreds out of your legs and entangle your legs. And me being like an 8-year-old, I'd tumble to the ground, and then he would get on top of me and start scratching me and going crazy.
That's not good.
And if you blinked at him, you know how a cat, you get a little piece of thread and you flip it in front of him and they go crazy. It's like, oh, it's some sort of prey instinct. He would have a prey instinct towards your eyelids.
Oh, that's really bad.
So if you were looking at him, he would start staring at you with this gleam in his eye, and he would be watching your eyelids blinking, and then suddenly he would just launch himself at your face.
Just the cat staring at you thing is a little weird too.
Yeah, they're creepy.
Because I was laying down last night and I was reading, and the cat kept like trying to knock things over all over the place in my room. So I was doing the thing, I'd like rub my sheet a little bit, right, make a little noise, and the cat would be like, "Oh, what's this?" So he'd come over and like stand next to my bed and just stare at me.
It's those evil vertical pupils.
Yeah, it is, right? And you look over and you've been reading for a couple minutes, and the cat's still just there, just staring at you. Icy cold stare, which is nothing the cat will do. The cat won't just like come over and sit down and relax, you know what I mean? But the cat will stand by the bed and just stare into your eyes.
Well, they don't have the expressive ability of a dog. Like a dog, they can look friendly if they want to. They can look embarrassed. They can look sad.
Yeah.
A cat basically just has...
You tell by behavior.
Yeah, they have a pretty good poker face, and they'll stare at you, and you can't
very
tell if
stoic
their
look to
intent
them, right?
is malicious or if it's friendly.
Yeah, they're just kind of like looking at you with those icy cold eyes.
Demonic.
And sometimes they come up to you and they're like, they purr and you pet them and they're friendly and stuff. Sometimes they're like, I'm going to scratch you now.
Yeah.
You never know what's coming.
Changing gears a little bit, I just have a quick request for the listeners. Going on with my growing insanity and physical problems, like where I'm losing control of my brain. I've also been experiencing worse anhedonia or non-affect, where basically I can't get a buzz from anything. And as we said before, usually that leads to some sort of psychotic episode in some people where they don't get any thrill eventually, like the normal things don't give them a thrill. And so eventually they start, as we said, kidnapping prostitutes, throwing them in a pit, making them rub lotions all over themselves.
The theme of the show is getting really weird.
But to me, I want to avoid that.
Yeah.
I want to avoid becoming a serial killer. And so I've been trying to watch horror movies because I want... I want to be frightened. I want to feel something. I want to feel alive. And I am having no luck whatsoever finding any horror movie that's even remotely frightening to me.
Okay.
So if anyone in the audience, if you have any good horror movies that are actually scary, not like torture porn, gruesome scary, that does not scare me at all, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com. Let me know if you know of any good horror movies.
You wouldn't actually be terrified by the movie you're watching?
No, I mean, I don't expect any movie to actually terrify me.
Yeah.
Because I know it's a movie. And
that little chill is
But
the best
I
you can hope
talk
for.
to people, especially girls. I was talking to a girl the other day about how she cannot watch any scary movie.
Yeah.
Because she watches a movie and then for days afterwards, she's just terrified. She's huddled in her apartment alone, any dark shadow, any sound she hears. I would love to feel something.
But that's how a lot of people get invested in like TV shows and like movies like that.
I guess it's just...
It's not an experience you have. It's not an experience I have.
My
it's
overarching cynicism, I guess, about it.
Well, I used to have that experience when I was a kid. Yeah. But I don't have that experience really anymore. And I mean, yes, there are still people who have that experience, but you're not a person that's going to have that experience.
Probably not.
You have to just really watch a show.
Well, I guess it's kidnapping prostitutes and making them rub lotion on themselves.
There's got to be a middle
ground. Those are the only two choices.
Can't you just find a video about that? Won't that do it?
I don't know.
Jesus.
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
This week on Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show, we will start off with another Lindsay Lohan financial difficulty story. As we reported last week, the Lohan is having trouble paying her rent on her $8,000 a month mansion in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Recently, a strip club has offered to help her with her financial woes. She actually has a storage unit. She owes $16,000 to the facility. Apparently,
that's going to go in Storage Wars, right?
Well, and that's the thing. She has, clothing, mementos, hopefully some embarrassing personal items in there. And if she doesn't pay her bill by the end of this month, I believe, then it will go up for auction. And it's hilarious that $16,000, I don't know how much it was a month, I don't know how big this facility is, but there is a famous strip club in New York called Scores Strip Club, and they have offered to pay her, I guess to completely pay her bill for the storage facility, and what she has to do is be a chat host for their website, scoreslive.com.
I don't understand what the job of a host at like a stripping website.
I'm not exactly sure. I've never been to scoreslive.com. I'm assuming it's like with webcams of naked chicks or something. I don't know what the deal is.
Maybe her just being associated with the website in some way. And the possibility that people might interact with Lindsay Lohan on this website will drive more traffic to it.
In a letter to Lindsay Lohan, the strip club explains, "We understand that you have recently been spending some time in New York City, and we would like to arrange for you to host a few events online for scoreslive.com. Scoreslive.com presents hundreds of beautiful ladies who appear by webcam nightly, entertaining upscale gentlemen in the privacy of their homes."
Okay, this
This
is an ad for Scores.
We are
website.
currently starting a new promotion wherein we will engage famous female celebrities as hosts for special events streamed live from our club, Scores, on West 28th Street in Manhattan for the VIP members of scoreslive.com.
No, that's just...
So we've come to the root of this whole story, is basically they know that making this offer. She's not going to accept this offer, but it'll be widely reported in celebrity
yes,
gossip
it's
magazines.
on the internet right now.
Yeah.
We're talking about it. And the fact that, like, you could send it to the Queen, theoretically, right?
Yes.
And then some website would pick it up and be like, oh, Scores offered the Queen a job.
Right.
You know, stripping. And then they put that.
And what I love about stories like this, too, is who knows if it even got to her. I'm sure it went to her management or something. They're like, fuck this. But then, and I'm sure her management never even said anything about it, but ScoresLive.com releases a statement saying, look what we did. We
sent
asked
this
Lindsay
letter.
Lohan. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all you have to do is type the letter and mail it to her, and suddenly you've got a story about it.
We sent her a letter asking her to appear naked on our website.
Yay!
Well, don't get too excited. It's not really anything new in the Amanda Bynes Odyssey, but basically she is settled with 2 of the victims of her hit-and-run accidents.
Oh, that's all. It's just wrapping up some of the previous
Right. So in
crimes.
California, if you have criminal charges pending against you for certain offenses, you're allowed to settle in a civil suit to have the criminal charges dropped.
Oh, yeah. The victim can drop the charges if there's some
if
sort
they
of,
get monetary recompense for whatever you've done. So basically, Bynes, this is from the Associated Press, Bynes has entered a civil compromise to end the cases, and her attorneys informed a Los Angeles court on Thursday. She's actually gone through the civil suit. The city attorney says prosecutors objected to the dismissal, noting other instances in which Bynes has been cited for driving without a license and her pending driving under the influence case.
Well, I mean, it is like just basically paying off people, right?
Right.
Because at some point she needs to be punished.
Well, and the normal citizen doesn't have the monetary resources to be able to do things like this.
Yes.
You know, just shell out money and make things disappear. So it's not particularly fair, in my opinion. But obviously the people who brought charges against her
are happy to have money.
They wanted money. That was the only thing they were after anyway.
Oh, yeah. If I was a victim of the hit and run, I'd be like, yeah, give me money. I don't really care if Amanda Bynes goes to jail now or in a couple months when she eventually goes to jail again for whatever else she does.
So it's not the new driving-related story we were hoping for, but I'm sure she still has a suspended license. She's still not allowed to drive at all.
It can't be much longer before we get another story.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. All right, I'm sorry. I've got my index finger
Brad is having
shoved into my eyeball.
I'm trying
to
be composed.
You're witnessing the complete breakdown, mentally and physically, of Bradley Victor on the Warren and Bradley Show. Hopefully, maybe I do need some medical marijuana.
Can you feel your knee right now?
I can feel my knee right now.
Okay, good.
And nothing is bulging in my vision. So we'll soldier on the Warren and Bradley Show. Here is an update on the story we had last week about the nurse Jacinta Saldana, who had killed herself.
Yeah.
It's pretty grim. This is also from the Associated Press. There's been an inquest into the apparent suicide of the nurse duped by a hoax call from Australian DJs and the pregnant Duchess of Cambridge. What? Oh, about the pregnant Duchess of Cambridge heard Thursday.
Pregnant Duchess of Cambridge was not involved in the prank.
No, hanging in her room. So actually, co-workers found her hanging by a scarf from a wardrobe in the nurses' quarters on Friday.
Ugh.
There are several notes, and apparently she also had injuries on her wrists. And I don't know, it doesn't say if those were cuts, like she had tried to slit her wrists and then hung herself with a scarf. They're not releasing what was in the notes. I'm hoping that it's not just, I'm so embarrassed because of these Australian DJs, so I decided to kill myself. I'm assuming there's more to it than that.
I'm pretty sure there probably is. It's a terrible thing. And
in the meantime, the DJs have been basically fired. They've had a leave of absence indefinitely, so they're probably not going to be back on the air again.
I think, they'll be working in Darwin or something, have to work their way back up the media market of Australia. They
made a tearful apology on a Australian news program and claimed that they thought the call would never go through. They were not expecting the call to actually go through, which...
We talked about this before.
Yes.
It's like, the consequences of this are... the suicide is horrible.
Yes.
These DJs were meatheads and idiots, but it's like, they didn't kill this woman.
So easily could have played out where, okay, the little morning show DJs in Australia on Today FM, they try to call the hospital, they do really bad impersonations of Prince Charles and Queen Elizabeth. The nurse says... fuck you, we're not connecting you, and hangs up, and they'd go, ha, 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 and everyone would laugh, and it would be no story.
Or the nurse puts them through, and the nurse doesn't kill herself.
Yeah. Well, it was still a controversy before the nurse killed herself, because they were like, oh, the hospital staff revealed this information.
But there wouldn't be any tears.
No,
in their apology.
It wouldn't be a tragedy.
No.
And it's that weird philosophical thing where, let's say you're a big rig driver, and you're going long haul across the country.
I like this already. All right.
And maybe you didn't get your hydraulic brakes serviced when you should have. And maybe your stopping distance is just slightly less than it would normally be. And a little toddler runs out in front of your big rig. And that 2 feet of stopping distance difference means that you run over this little kid.
Yeah.
Whereas 9 times out of 10 or 90 times out of 100, no little kid would have jumped in front of your truck. But now a little kid did. And then they investigate and find out that you weren't quite up on your service records like you should have been. And then suddenly you're a horrible person.
Yeah.
Where really you didn't do anything differently in the 2 circumstances where you didn't run over a kid or you did run over a kid.
Yeah.
But in one circumstance, you're a horrible person. In the other circumstance, you were just kind of lazy, but nothing bad happened.
I mean, it just gets back to the fact that people want to look at a cause, or they want to look at like a villain in every
Yes.
situation like this, right?
We want everything to be black and white.
That makes things a lot easier for us, rather than like grappling with like the horror of our existence and the fact that you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anything can happen to anyone at any time.
Yes.
For no reason at all. There you go, people. I hope you enjoyed that.
Okay, I think this should be our last story for this week. This is a bizarre story. Also from the Associated Press. Prisoner plotted to kill Justin Bieber. Okay. It's not funny that somebody wanted to kill Justin. I mean, it is
kind of funny.
An imprisoned man whose infatuation with Justin Bieber included a tattoo of the pop star on his leg
Oh, jeez.
has told investigators in New Mexico he hatched a plot to kill him. Court documents in a New Mexico district court say Dana Martin told investigators he persuaded a man he met in prison and the man's nephew to kill Bieber, Bieber's bodyguard, and 2 others not connected to the pop star. He told investigators that Mark Stock and Tanner Roan headed east, planning to be near a Bieber concert scheduled in New York City. They missed a turn and crossed into Canada from Vermont, and so did not kill Bieber.
Okay, this is a weird story in the sense that I can understand one crazy person plotting, you know what I mean, to kill Bieber. But how are other people getting involved?
Well, it's just like this weird Fargo thing where you get these inept assassins and they make a wrong turn into Canada and don't kill him. And also, what is this guy in prison? I don't know what he was in prison for, but can you imagine him out on the yard, you know, the exercise yard? Everyone else has these jailhouse tats of like,
Crips.
You know, an angel crying, or like the tear where they've killed a man, you know, on the side of their face, or like these, you know, their gang tattoos they've gotten in prison. He's got fucking Justin Bieber on his thigh. How many times did he get the shit kicked out of him in prison?
That's probably why he's so angry.
And also, if he loves Bieber so much,
why kill him?
Why kill him? I mean, this is all often the celebrity thing where, you know, the same thing with John Lennon's killer.
Yeah.
But you should do it yourself then, because you want to be part of
He's locked up.
the mythology. Well, this is true.
Do you think if they'd successfully killed Bieber, and let's say we go 50 years in the future, do people like lionize Bieber and look back on him like he's James Dean or something?
I don't think so.
You don't think that would happen?
I don't think so.
I mean, what sort of like...
He would be I mean, he's a young guy, and he's...
Would they think of him like the same way people think about like Buddy Holly, you think?
No, because Buddy Holly was a pioneer in rock music, and Justin Bieber is a completely manufactured pop product. I don't think he's had the same effect on the musical landscape.
But I mean, who knows? Maybe the people in their mid-30s at the time, you know, Buddy Holly died, thought he was just some sort of Bieber of that era.
I don't know.
And I think his existence may have been romanticized by the fact that he died.
Maybe.
He was murdered in his youth.
He wasn't murdered.
Well, I mean, if this happened,
Okay.
you know what I mean? I'm just talking about what our reaction would be in the future.
Yeah. Well, the Buddy Holly thing also gets conflated with, you know, Richie Valens and Big Bopper, because they all died at once, and it was considered a big blow to rock music at the time.
It was the day the music died.
It was. Of course, music is still here, so obviously music didn't die that day.
No. But that particular brand of music from those particular people died
So
that
if Bieber
day.
died, it could be the day that boy pop shit music died, and everyone would celebrate. Huzzah! They wouldn't celebrate his death, but they'd celebrate the death of his genre, perhaps. He wouldn't be missed.
Oh, Biebs.
Sorry, Beebs. I guess that's the end of Celebrity Minute on this week's Warren and Bradley Show.
All right.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
So, last week on the show, we mentioned a new feature that we're going to be premiering this week. It's the yin, or wait a minute, which is yang and which is yin?
It's the yin.
It's the yin to the yang of That's How Women Are?
Well, no, I guess
Or yang
it
is the male.
yang.
It's the yang
Well,
to the
but
yin.
I mean, but yeah, right.
It's one of
male.
those. It's the polar opposite to That's How Women Are. It's a new feature called That's What Men Are Like, where we
Yeah.
explore the male mystique, perhaps.
That's yang, definitely. Okay,
Yeah, definitely yang. We requested listeners to write in with any questions they might have about men. Of course, nobody did, but I know someone who did write in. You all remember that Grupus McKay and the Rabble-Rousers, #1 fans of the Warren and Bradley Show from Scottsdale, Arizona, wrote in with a song for our That's How Women Are segment because they enjoyed the show so much and they wanted to help us out. Well, we've gotten a little offering from Rhonda, Grupus's girlfriend, his old lady. She's a former dancer at Skins Cabaret in Scottsdale, Arizona, home of the famous rubber glove hand job. She's now involved in making home pharmaceuticals and distributing them on the streets, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, it's really nobody's business but her own.
She has done her own version of the That's How Women Are theme song and has put her own unique spin, and she would like us to use that song for our That's What Men Are Like segment.
Let's take a listen, shall we?
I think we shall.
They say they love you, now they want to sex, but then they leave you when you gain a little weight, but it's not your fault, 'cause sodium makes you retain water. Oh, they never want to listen when you talk about the girls at work you hate, and when you actually feel like loving, all they want to do is masturbate, 'cause that's what men like. Whoa, that's what men like.
Wow.
That was lovely.
That was lovely. Thank you, Rhonda.
Uh-huh.
Tell Grupus hello from us. We haven't heard from Grupus in a while.
Yeah, we get worried with his like substance abuse history.
Well, he's had a lot of back problems.
Yeah.
He had gout.
Yeah.
Been working on that lately, but hopefully he'll get back on his feet, start performing with the Rabble-Rousers again soon. Our very first That's What Men Are Like segment was actually inspired by a conversation that I overheard while out on Friday night.
Ooh.
I was waiting at the bar that I was at. On the bottom floor, there's a male and female restroom. There are often lines for those restrooms, and so on the second floor, there is a unisex bathroom that often is not in use. So I ran up there to use the unisex bathroom.
Yes, I've done that often too, because some people don't know about the upstairs
Exactly.
unisex
It's the
bathroom.
secret bathroom.
It's an advantage for people who know the bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was waiting out there. I could hear two girls conversing in the bathroom, so they had gone in together. I don't know how that works. They just watch the other person piss and then wait for their turn or something.
I don't think we just sit there and stare at them, but they may be
Maybe.
like working on their makeup in the mirror.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Having conversation. As they were coming out of the bathroom, one of them said, "Oh, I'm only 24, and look at how old I look." Actually, very reminiscent of the Chris Brown Twitter
Yes.
quote. Her friend went, "Oh, you don't look that old." And she went, "I definitely look older than 24. And then she said, "Oh, it's not that bad." And she's like, "Yeah, but Kurt is like 30, and he looks younger than me." I'm assuming Kurt is her boyfriend, perhaps, or something.
Oh, yeah.
And her friend said, "Well, that's because men have more collagen in their skin."
Oh.
And I was like, okay, this is interesting, because I've heard that there are differences in the way male skin and female skin are constructed. We've talked before about how women bruise much more easily than men do. So I went home and did some research. I wanted to see what this was all about. And I found this. It's a website, the dermalinstitute.com.
Sounds legit.
Is a man's skin really different? After reading this article, I found out some interesting things. A man's skin is on average 25% thicker than a girl's skin.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
So if you're, I don't know, it's like, oh, he's got a real thick skin. Things just roll right off of
I don't
it.
know if that's what they're talking about.
Well, literally, men have thicker skin than women.
men, yeah.
Also, regardless of age, men have a higher collagen density than women. This is the ratio of collagen to the thickness of the skin. Researchers think that the higher collagen density accounts for why women appear to age faster than some men of the same age. It has been said that women are about 15 years older than men of the same age.
That's the most ridiculous sentence I've ever heard.
I guess in relative skin age or something. I mean, because obviously men still die quicker than women do.
Yes.
So maybe your heart is shot, your liver is fucked. In
You
every
look great.
In every other way, you're dying of, well, not so slow death, but in skin density, collagen density, men
So
are
we're
the leaders
losing
of the pack.
collagen less quickly?
Well, physical signs of aging in adults, such as wrinkles and laxity to the tissue, are closely related to the collagen content of the skin. Men and women both lose about 1% of their collagen per year after their 30th birthday, but for women, this escalates significantly in the first 5 years after menopause, and they already had less collagen to begin with.
Yeah.
Obviously, factors such as UV exposure.
Oh, yeah, that'll hurt them.
Other things can make a difference, but basically, the texture of a man's skin is very different than a woman. It's rougher. The stratum corneum is thicker. Also, difference in sebum. So men are more greasy than women, which makes them more hydrated.
Yeah.
So they don't get wrinkled as easily. So basically, what this whole study is saying is that if you are a man, if you want to be dating someone who has the same relative skin age as you should date somebody who's 15 years younger than you. So, Warren, you need to break up with your girlfriend.
That's not what that study told you to do.
That's exactly what the study said. If you read between the lines. We actually did our own study at the Warren and Bradley Research Institute. We got 10 males and 10 females as research volunteers. We got some sharpened chopsticks and tried to puncture the skin of the men and women.
It's monstrous.
And we do have to say that it did take 25% more force to puncture the skin of the male volunteers than it did the female volunteers with the chop and chopsticks. We wanted to show the video online, but it's been seized as evidence.
Yeah.
Civil,
YouTube is a little judgy about that
civil
stuff.
court case.
Okay, we got to bring this around to another subject that I know we're both interested in.
Yes.
Women of different ethnicities,
Yes.
like Caucasian women.
Yes.
Do they have more collagen?
I've dated a couple Asian girls in my life, and they always seemed very aware of the fact that their skin was better than white chicks. I had one girlfriend who was Korean who, I don't know what she based this on, but she did say that Asians have more collagen in their skin than white people.
Because according to this research, it would make sense.
It would.
Yeah.
You look at an Asian woman who basically looks amazing until she hits menopause, and then maybe that same thing where the collagen density drops way off.
starts, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, men are the Asian women of the
genders. Men are the Asian women of the genders.
I have a t-shirt
Parse
that says
that sentence and figure that out.
So all you women who complain about wrinkles, there's nothing you can do.
What about collagen injections?
I don't really know what that entails. You're just injecting collagen under the skin?
Yeah.
Does it like mix with the skin properly? I don't know. We don't
probably
have to worry
doesn't.
about
It's probably
it 'cause
like
we're
really, anytime they do anything like that, it comes out looking weird, right?
But I will have to say, not to annoy anybody out there, but, we graduated with some people from high school who we don't really have contact with a lot of people. It's mostly male friends who we see from high school. But I've run into some girls who I knew in high school, and the relative age difference, it's flabbergasting.
It's because if you run into guys that you haven't seen for years from high school, it's not that shocking, right?
Well, I mean, there's definitely some guys who, they're balding and fat, and they do look like age has caught up with them. But I do have to say, just superficially, anecdotally, it does seem that if you take past a certain age, it does seem that time is a little less kind to the female skin and face than it is to men.
And now science has backed this up.
Yes. So now when I say that I need to date someone 15 years younger, I can point to scientific evidence for the reasons for that.
And the scientific reason for that is the fact that you need to have someone
of the same relative skin age.
Relative skin age. Because that's the most important thing in any relationship.
It is. That's the thing. I mean, a lot of relationship experts gloss over this point. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of marriages end in divorce. I think there's a lot of strife between men and women in relationships. And what they're not taking into account is the fact that a woman's face might be years older than the man's, even if they're the same age.
Okay. Who knows? Maybe years in the future, they could go back and they could start looking at divorce rates and strife within relationships and start looking at relative collagen rates and find out what you're saying is true.
Yes.
You would be quite the pioneer at that point.
No, this is kind of like the Dead Sea Scroll. This one fact is going to let us understand every problem that ever has existed in relationships.
I think that sounds about right.
So there you go. Men date women who are 15 years younger. Women try to find men who are 15 years older.
I like the way that that's how women are. We end up like...
Well, this is
criticizing
that's what men
women. Like. I know, but I'm saying, I like how the fact that that's how men are ended up with you saying that men should date younger women. There's nothing actually about men.
Well, it's about our skin.
It's about men just dating. We should date younger women.
Well, if you want to avoid this in the future, listeners, you send in questions for That's What Men Are Like
about us
to
being
Warren
annoying.
and Bradley at podcast.com.
We want to talk about some of the negatives of men.
to podcast at warrenandbradley.com.
What did you say?
I said Warren and Bradley at podcast.com.
Don't do that. That's a different website.
Podcast at warrenandbradley.com. We also want to add, if you have some criticisms of men, we will answer those criticisms. If you just want to know how our minds work or whether they work, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com. Subject line, That's What Men Are Like.
Yeah, they like to wear black socks with khaki shorts.
They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Spare $1.
And give me a motherfucking cigarette.
I ran out of gas ways back.
Got any left?
You smoke weed, don't you? Good, use my car. I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
Okay, I think we have time to shoehorn in the Street Freak of the Week before we end the show. I was wandering about downtown yesterday, as I am wont to do, and there was a maybe mid-30s homeless dude who had one of those haircuts where it looked like somebody took a pair of wall barber clippers and just kind of skipped it over his head. There have been several street freaks with this look where it's not a bad haircut, it's a fucked haircut. It's like somebody had to try to make it look that bad. And it's not punky. It's not like, oh, I'm shaving a weird design in my head. It's move your head up and down really fast. I'm going to hold these clippers in front of your head, and whatever happens, happens.
You think there's somebody loose out in town who has like little clippers?
Maybe there's homeless people sleeping on the street, their little heads poking out of their backpacks, and someone goes and just shaves.
Or else he's
weird
like,
patterns
I'm
into their
the
head.
street barber.
Maybe.
If you give me a cigarette, I'll give you a haircut.
And his hand is just shaking so bad.
Yeah, he
from
has some sort of like
the palsy.
issue.
I don't know. But it was interesting. He had his little backpack, his bedroll, like the old-fashioned bedroll, tied with rope. And he had a sign that said, "Homeless veteran, please help." Mm-hmm. And as I was walking past him, he very aggressively got right in front of me and said, "Give me money." And I went, "Sorry," and kept walking. And he went, "Fuck you," after me as I was walking away. Normally in that kind of encounter, the homeless person is polite. They say, "Oh, do you mind? Could you give me $1 or so?" I might say sorry, and then I'll just leave.
Yeah.
This time, because he was so aggressive and rude, I decided to call him.
Give him $1.
No.
That's usually what you do, right?
Yeah. I decided to call him on the sign. Because I think that 90% of the homeless people who have the homeless veteran, please help, aren't really veterans. But you're not going to go around like, you're not a veteran.
Well, that's the thing. They're not veterans, but they are like, they have problems.
Yeah. But it does kind of annoy me that if I were a veteran, I'd be annoyed that there are a bunch of fake veterans going around.
Trading on the veteran status. Yeah.
And so normally I wouldn't say anything about it. I just let it go. But because he was so rude, I decided I would call him on the veteran sign. So I turned around and I was like, "You're a veteran, huh?" And he went, "Oh, yeah." And he calmed down right away when I asked him about this.
Oh, he talks about the shit. He calms down.
Well, so when did you get out of the service? 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Okay. Were you injured or anything? Or were you on disability or anything after the service? And you could see gears.
He's trying to concoct something.
Gears were moving in there. He's like, "Which is worse? Is it worse if I'm on disability or not?" And then he said, No. And so I was thinking, okay, still possible that he is a veteran. Maybe he could have been in the Iraq War. He could have been in Afghanistan. He doesn't need to have even been in a war. He just could have been in the service at some point.
Technically a veteran.
Technically a veteran. So I was like, "Oh, what branch?" And he went, "The Army." As if I was going to confirm for him which branch he was in.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, took him a while there. You would think if you were in the service, you'd be able to
roll right at the time.
Yell it out right away.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, did you see any action?" Yeah. It's like, "Oh, where were you deployed? What was going on?" "Russia."
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of the conflict in Russia.
I don't recall any war.
We did have troops in Russia, but that was 1919, I think. Maybe the last time.
That was probably the last time. Yeah. It's like, "Russia, really? What part of Russia?" "Near the border."
Well, yeah. Got to be near the border.
I said, "Okay. Wow. So you saw a lot of action there?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, what war was that? Because I don't remember a war with Russia. The Cold War. Oh, the Cold War. Yes, we were engaged in a Cold War with Russia, but
fought in the Cold War.
The important part of that term is the cold part of that term. A Cold War.
Did you say this to him?
No. This is my thought process.
You're mocking the crazy person.
No,
there.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I could have just like stomped all over him, but that wouldn't.
Yeah.
He's a crazy homeless guy, and so I was like, "Oh, the Cold War. Yeah, that must have been pretty tough." He's like, "A lot of good men died." And you can see this little gleam in his eye, like, he's like, "I've got him." And it's like, okay, some friends of yours lost some friends. Oh yeah, lost a lot of friends. It's like, well, and you just came back 3 years ago. Huh? Your deployment ended. Did you leave right away, or were you stationed maybe domestically for a while? It's like, I was at Andrews Air Force Base.
Oh.
Okay. Well, there you go. And so I gave him $1.
There you go. Again.
I appreciated
all the
fact
polite homeless men people get nothing, and the person
it's because
who says "fuck you" to you gets $1.
What I liked about it was all he had to do was say, "Oh, I was in the Navy reserves or something and never saw any action. I was in San Diego for a while, and then I got dishonorably discharged for yelling at my superior officer or something." Like, fine. Or he didn't have to say anything. He'd just say, yeah, I was in the Army for a while.
But you could say it, but if you use that story,
yeah,
it's not an explanation for why you're on the street.
Well, you could anything. I'm not going to.
But that's what the veteran thing is saying, that I was in an armed conflict, I have PTSD, and that's why you should have sympathy for me.
Well, and I think the veteran thing also is just, regardless of what caused me to be on the street, you should just feel sympathy because I served our country, kind of thing. Not necessarily that my service is what caused me to be fucked up on the street.
I don't know if you just somebody at high school enlists, goes to some base and hangs out for 4 years, and then comes out and gets in the street and is like, "I'm a veteran, help me."
Well, I don't know.
That's not what they're going for.
I think any leg up that they have, they're going to try to use.
Yeah.
But anyway, he didn't have to go into this story. And if it were me, if I were a crazy homeless person on the street pretending to be a veteran, I would do a little research first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I'd fought in the Cold War and was deployed in Russia near the border, and a lot of good men died.
Again, you're having some confusion about the mentally ill on the street.
I just enjoyed the fact that he had no fucking idea. He was treading water, but he gave a really good try.
Oh, it's a really good try.
It was a really good try.
I mean, he had heard of the Cold War.
Uh-huh.
He knew that Russia was involved.
Yes.
He just didn't know. Yeah, you're right. Didn't know about the coal part.
So I enjoyed that. So, again, the only competitor for the title of Street Freak this week.
Yeah, he got $1 too. He's a big winner.
There you go. So congratulations, Mr. Fake Cold War Russian campaign near the border veteran. You've been awarded this week's Street Freak of the Week.
Congratulations.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
Well, that's enough time for the Warren and Bradley Show this week. This has been one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
This is the other host, Warren Van.
Saying,
if you served on the Russian front, we all appreciate your service. Thank
hats
you so
off
much.
to you. You're true American heroes.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com.
Went out this weekend on Friday night, and I had one of those things where, did we mention this on the podcast? I think there was the girl I had walked home who we made out with.
Oh, the makeout one. Yeah.
And then I got her number, and then I said I doubted she would like call me back if I called her, and she didn't.
Yeah.
I sent her a text message.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, whatever. C'est la vie. And then I hadn't run into her since then, except on Friday night I was at a show at a local bar, and I see her there.
Uh-oh.
And she, of course, did the look away thing when she saw me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that big a deal. It's fine. But whatever. I didn't try to go up to her or talk to her or anything. But then at one point I was standing in line, and I turned around after I had gotten a beer, and she was right in front of me. And she again went, "Huh!" And she was with this long-haired, douchebaggy looking beardo freak. And he noticed some something going on when she
Oh, he
looked
noticed
at me.
that tension there?
He noticed something. And I wasn't doing it. I wasn't like giving her longing looks or anything or doing anything.
But this guy has a really good EQ, maybe.
He's finally attuned, or
Yeah,
else
yeah.
he's just like a selfish weirdo, or
Yeah.
not selfish,
Or he's like
or
obsessed
jealous
about
weirdo.
the girl he's with. He's like, any
Right.
vibe from anyone else, he
Right.
knows what's going on. Yeah, yeah.
So he gave me this look like, what's going on? And I was just, whatever, little long-haired douchebag. I just
Yeah.
walked away. But then as I was coming out of the bathroom, now at this point in the night, I haven't been drinking much at all lately, so my liver is not as calloused as it used to be in the old
Yeah.
days. So the alcohol maybe gets to me a little more than it would have in my heyday of like drinking every single night.
Yeah.
So I was a little buzzed, a little up, having a good time, actually. But as I came out of the bathroom, the long-haired beardo douchebag was walking towards the bathroom, and he went out of his way to put his shoulder in,
Oh.
and like, bam!
Really?
Bopped me as he went by. And maybe completely sober, I wouldn't have done anything. I just would have been like,
Yeah.
whatever, fucker. But this time, for some reason, now maybe you can analyze the response I had.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, 2 weeks in a row.
Another train break.
Sorry, everybody. Oh, this one's going south.
Oh, wow.
That's unusual.
We're laughing.
Eating the donut and laughing.
This is a train break.
This is a very weird vibe to a show right now. Considering it's dark, I had some alcohol on me, and now I'm just eating a donut. It just, the whole thing feels really weird. Yeah.
We have to have about a good minute of laughing.
Can't do that. No, I just listened to the last one, and it was just like us talking.
Oh, that was a good train break. We had time to finish our donuts now, so now we can focus.
Yeah, we
on
finished our
podcasting
donuts.
properly. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Okay, so beardo, long-haired douchebag.
Oh, bumped
dude.
into you.
Yeah, bumped into me on purpose.
Yeah.
Very much.
The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
Yes, it is magic time. Hello. Welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley show. I'm one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
We're eating some donuts here in the Warren and Bradley studios. Warren came bearing donuts, and we decided we'd have a little donut.
Yeah, we're both enjoying a maple bar right now.
Oh, there's a good maple bar.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
The first segment will just be us eating donuts. We'll be able to suck some entertainment value out of that, I think. Your smacking is really coming through on the microphone right now.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. I think it's because I'm like trying to suck the donut off my teeth, like, kind of like. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I used to be appalled by you when you were a little kid, your eating habits.
Oh, yeah?
I remember I'd have you over to my house or something, this is when we were like 6 or 7, and we'd get a sandwich, and you would eat the sandwich all the way through.
Really?
Like you would just start biting in the middle of it, and then just like...
So I'd have two sides left?
You'd have two sides, and it would just smear over your face as you were eating. But by the time you were done eating, you just had food all over your face.
Really?
And I was always appalled, because I've always been kind of fastidious and uptight, maybe is the
I don't
word.
remember doing that, but it's very possible I did that because at some point when I started eating sandwiches, I really got into just like eating the crust first. And then I would do this thing where I would like nibble around the outside of the sandwich and then have a crustless sandwich and then just eat that.
Well, I guess your sandwich eating routine has changed throughout the years.
Yeah,
but-
because that, if I were to do that now, it would really drive me crazy because I can't stand having anything like sticky on my face.
No, I know. I hate that.
I like love ribs, but it makes me like nervous to have all that like rib sauce on my face and stuff, and on my hands, it just drives me nuts.
Well, if I take a bite of something, people have commented before that I eat like a shark, where I extend my teeth out of my lips almost as though I have some sort of weird mandible, because I don't want anything to touch my lips when
Yeah.
I'm eating. So I go and bite like that. Yeah.
That's really fastidious.
Yeah.
I don't mind getting it right on my lip because I can lick it off, but anything on the like skin part around the lips, I'm a little worried about.
This is really entertaining.
Okay, I've also had a couple drinks.
Oh, good.
So yeah,
That'll be good.
yeah, that's why I ended up with getting maple bars. I think.
No, I'm hopped up on caffeine. We're having the maple bars. Warren's mildly drunk, so this should be a good episode of the Warren and Bradley Show.
Just came back from a local nightclub watching the Seattle Seahawks win another game.
My mouth is so full. You're really professional. So, this is a dance club that normally has weird college people dancing to obnoxious, like Katy Perry music.
Yeah,
but
basically.
they're playing a Seahawks game?
Yeah.
What, do they have a big projector screen or something they put up?
Just regular screens.
So how many people go to the dance club to watch a Seahawks? It's not a sports bar.
It was more the people that like know each other were going there. It wasn't like a community event of sorts.
So it's not like, oh, let's go to Glow to watch the game. It's
No,
not.
there isn't like billboards about it, I don't think. But it was very inspiring. The Seahawks have scored more than 50 points 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, for those of you not native to the Pacific Northwest region or Seahawks fans, they're doing quite well.
I think we're very close to the division lead right now.
And we're supposed to play San Francisco next week.
Yeah.
So we've already clinched a wild card spot in the playoffs, right?
I don't know if we've clinched, but we're very close.
Okay. Clinched. Yeah.
Clinched a wild card spot. And more good news on the football front.
Yes.
My fantasy football team is in the semifinals right now, the Victorian Dandies.
Oh, great.
And as of the recording this podcast, I'm looking in really good shape.
Really? Because you weren't too sure last week.
No. Last week's game, very close. I ended up winning that playoff game. Moved on to this week. This week I've gotten off to a very hot start. So it looks very likely I will end up in the final against our friend Kyle.
Okay.
For all the marbles.
So you will be in the final. You are pretty sure. For the
I'm pretty
Victorian
right
Dandies.
now, unless barring some sort of catastrophe, which I will whine about to no end next week if this
All right,
happens.
We'll look forward to that.
But right now, it's looking very good.
So, Warren and Bradley Show listeners, if you don't want to hear Warren whining about his Fairy Tale Football League, send your good vibes, your love and support to the Victorian Dandies going into the finals.
Pray for the Dandies. It's very important.